This episode of Humanist Trek contains discussions of suicide. If this is a topic you need to steer away from, skip to about 6 minutes. If you find yourself needing support, in the United States, you can now dial 988 to reach the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And now, Humanist Trek.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk.
Spock.
Your move, Captain.
Jim Kirk of the Enterprise.
What's going on?
I'm James Kirk. These people are my friend and my shipmate. Leave my crew alone.
Out of the question.
How about that?
James Kirk.
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Oh, the bonehead ideas.
Gentlemen, I'm Captain James Kirk. Get out of my chair. Get out of it now.
My greetings and felicitations, Captain. So good of you and your officers to, drop in. Absolutely smashing.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
The holidays.
The holidays.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I feel like the people I've come in contact with on social media, they're like short tempers and short fuses and just want to fight people.
More short than normal.
Yeah, more short than normal.
Yeah. And
want to fight people. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I know it's the holidays and it's stressful, but good grief.
There's a lot of pressure that society places on us to host the perfect Christmas party or make your kids Christmas perfect or whatever.
Buy the perfect gift, have the perfect Christmas photo on your card and present this great picture of and it's so stressful to try to have to keep up with that, and plus work and everything is also so expensive, and so there's that as well, and then I think this time of year I think people unfortunately commit suicide a lot. You see an increase in that, and recently I think his name was Stephen Boss, also known as Twitch. He was a dancer. I personally absolutely love this guy, but was watching him on So You Think You Can Dance over 10 years ago when he first walked in. He was just a kid. And to see him flourish and grow as a dancer and as a human being, I watched him get married to one of the girls that was also on the show, and they had 2 beautiful children plus another child. And then
I knew him from Ellen.
Well, I knew him
DJ
before.
On Ellen.
I knew him. Well, I didn't actually know him personally, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My husband and I would not miss an episode of So You Think You Could Dance. Just seeing him as a fresh-faced kid right off the street of doing his type of style of dancing, which was animation. Nobody did it like Twitch. And then he was always so positive and happy and encouraging and funny and kind and all the things. He did stuff with Michelle Obama. I mean, he's pretty much touched all these different celebrities in so many different ways, but also his fans. But then we learned that he took his own life.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, not him.
And not just because here's the famous person we look up to or we enjoy their art or whatever, but that was a very positive, strong male role model for the Black community. Right.
And if it's him, then we're all fucked, because he was a gift to everybody that probably knew him and everyone that looked up to him. And if he's struggling, then, we're all in trouble. So that one hurt.
Yeah.
That one hurt. We can't talk enough about suicide awareness. There's the Trevor Project for the LGBTQ plus youth, who are another group that's likely to commit suicide. But then, in recent years, the suicide among African Americans has increased exponentially, and even now, even when we are still, right now we're talking about mental health more than we've ever talked about it.
Yeah.
But it's still not, it's still not enough. No.
In the U.S., you can call 988 now. You can dial 988 to get in touch with a crisis hotline.
Like, or reach out to a friend, reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, if you're struggling, please reach out.
That was pretty dark.
That was heavy.
But it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's a serious situation.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's get to our episode this week. Star Trek, the original series, season 1, episode 16, Shore Leave.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us.
No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
Mr. Sulu, yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course, visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
The opening of this episode has the Enterprise in orbit around a planet with a landing party down below, and Kirk having Yo Woman Barrows rub a kink in his back.
Oh my.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, don't tell Janice, but
Yeah. Well,
you were at work.
he didn't know. So in his defense, he did not know that was Lieutenant or Yeoman Barrow.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to work out his kink, and he's like,
he's trying to work out his kink too.
But he literally thinks it's Spock, right? So he's like, push harder, dig in there, Mr. Spock. And then as he says, Mr. Spock steps
around the corner,
beside him, letting him know that is not Mr. Spock working on his back. So he becomes embarrassed, like once he realizes that's not Spock, that's like pushing and digging in on his back. So it's like, that's okay. That's enough, Miss Barrows.
Well, Barrows starts harping on Kirk about needing rest.
I'm like, what is a yeoman like your mom? Like, is that what part of their responsibility is to be like your mom?
Right.
You need sleep.
Right. And you didn't pick up your underwear from the floor.
Yeah.
Spock agrees. The whole crew could use some rest after all that they've been through lately. So it sounds like the perfect setup for shore leave.
And he says, like, there isn't a crew that isn't in need of rest, with me excluded, of course, because he's a Vulcan.
Yeah. Down on the planet, and this isn't a Star Trek playset. We're out on location.
I know. This is probably the hills of California, because it looks pretty nice.
Yep. McCoy and Sulu are taking a stroll by this little lake and talking about how wonderful the place is. And McCoy suggests it's something like out of Alice in Wonderland. A little foreshadowing. And he also talks about how, like, Kirk has his problems, but he also has the whole crew to worry about. 432 in all. So he really needs shore leave.
And so Sulu's like, well, no animals, no people, no worries on this place, no planet, because according to their scans, there's like nothing.
Sulu can't take his mind off of his love of botany and wanders off to take some cell structure readings. And McCoy turns around and there stands Maul Easter Bunny.
It is literally like a dude in an Easter Bunny suit.
Legit. Like they just ran on down to the costume room and grabbed whatever they could find.
Yeah. Have you seen those photos of the scary bunny, the creepy Easter bunny?
Yeah.
Yeah. This could easily have been one of them.
So the Easter Bunny's like, hey kids, don't forget springtime and fucking is the reason for the season. And then he fucks off.
He's like, oh, my paws and whiskers. And so the Easter Bunny's, not the Easter Bunny, but this bunny is like, stops in front of McCoy's like, oh, my paws and whiskers. I'm late. McCoy just can only stare in disbelief, like there's an Easter Bunny in front of me. And then he goes into the bushes.
And apparently something is reading McCoy's mind here, because as the Maul Easter Bunny hops away, young Alice comes running around the corner in her signature blue dress.
In a British accent, because I guess Alice was British. I don't know.
I think so. And McCoy just can't believe his eyes. He yells for Sulu, and Sulu didn't see anything. Zoom into McCoy's face to theme. And he's shook.
Yeah.
McCoy's shook.
He's like, what the hell? This is some good shrooms.
After the theme, in order to continue establishing that everyone's really tired, Kirk reads in his captain's log as stardate 3201
3.3. I literally wrote that 3025.3.
3. And he's describing this planet despite not having seen it himself. It's very Earth-like, flowers and trees, wide open spaces, very quiet and restful.
Almost too good to be true.
Mm-hmm. And when it is, it is.
Yeah.
Yo Woman Barrows is giving him shit again. She's like, she's got the shore leave manifest, and he's not on it, but he shuts her down again. She leaves, and Spock comes in, and Spock explains that Vulcans rest when they need rest, so they don't need to take vacations.
He's like, to rest is to rest, to cease to use energy. So he doesn't understand why you got to go out and expend all this energy, because if you're going to rest,
not resting. Yeah.
Just rest.
Oh, how many times have you gone on a vacation and you get back from the vacation and you're like, I need a vacation.
Vacation from a vacation. Yeah. We don't know how to rest.
No, we don't. Yeah. No, we have to be like stimulated at all times.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Vulcans don't take their work home with them. They don't answer phone calls from the boss outside of work hours. They're not picking up any overtime. Not like you shitty humans. Uhura patches in a phone call from McCoy down on the planet, and he's like, dude, I'm tripping balls down here.
He's like,
it's a bad trip, Jim. This is a bad trip.
He's like, either our scanners have malfunctioned or I am unfit for duty because I just saw a rabbit. He's like, I just saw a rabbit with a waistcoat and a pocket watch, and the captain thinks, like, McCurk thinks, oh, he's fucking with me.
Right.
He's just trying to get me down there. Right. And so he's like, oh, tell me, did you happen to see a little blonde girl following the rabbit? And McCoy's like, yep.
Actually, yeah, I did. So Spock's a sneaky little fucker, though. And he's like, well, Captain, I do have a concern about one of the crew.
Mm-hmm.
His reaction time is down. He's becoming irritable and argumentative. And he refuses to take a vacation. Of course, he has the right, and Kirk's like, whoa. His rights end when it affects the safety of this ship.
Mm-hmm. So he's like, he's going to order this crewman to go ashore. And he's like, what's the officer's name?
James Kirk. Enjoy yourself, Captain.
Spock, who says Spock doesn't have a sense of humor?
Right? The camera cuts down to the planet, and while Spock monologues about how their scans show no life or technology on the planet, just peaceful nature. And while he's on about this, we see a small boulder tilt backward for some reason, revealing a revolver underneath.
Yeah, there's a gun under a rock. It happens all the time, right?
Which one of them thought of that? A gun under a rock. So Angela Martine, who literally just lost her fiance in the last episode.
Okay. Note here. So Shore Leave was in the production order number 17.
Oh, was it before?
Balance of Terror was number 9.
Oh, well then no. Yeah.
So it was a while ago.
Okay.
But yeah, she's over him, She's like, Tomlinson
she's
who?
Down flirting with Rodriguez now.
Tomlinson who?
Yeah. Rodriguez is scanning the plant life when Kirk and Barrows beam down. Now, I had to do some research here because Kirk calls Angela Teller. But this last episode, she was Angela Martine.
Yeah.
So here's what I learned. In the script for this episode, her character was supposed to be Mary Teller.
Mm-hmm. Mary Teller?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But when they cast the same actor to play her that also played Martine, they changed the name to Angela Teller. And then other sources cite her as Angela Martine-Teller.
Okay.
So here's my retcon. Angela was supposed to marry what's-his-name in the last episode, but he died, and she's quick. So she found herself a new man, Crewman Teller, got married to him, took his name, shotgun wedding.
He died.
Who knows if he's, who knows if he's even still alive. But either way, now she's moved on to flirting with Rodriguez.
Gotcha.
I don't see a ring on her finger, so I assume it's okay. Kirk tells Rodriguez to stop working and have some fun, and they walk off to find McCoy and Sulu. And I have to mention a little bit of sound design here.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, this planet had a bad case of the echoes because Kirk and McCoy, like Kirk shouts for McCoy and McCoy shouts back, and there's this real slapback canyon-y echo in the audio.
Over here!
But then Kirk turns and they're like 100
right
yards away from each other or something. Yeah. Kirk asks McCoy if he knows any good rabbit jokes. He still thinks McCoy's just fucking with him. And McCoy's like, yeah, check this out.
There's some rabbit tracks. He's like, look, I saw what I saw. Or he's like, or maybe I just hallucinated, but here's some tracks.
You take a look at that and tell me what I'm seeing.
And Sulu couldn't corroborate his story because he was collecting plant specimens at the time.
Kirk calls up the Enterprise on his StarTAC and tells Uhura to hold off on beaming anyone else down. And as Kirk and McCoy argue about canceling shore leave, there's a gunshot in the distance.
They're like, what the hell? So Kirk draws his phaser and they both run toward the sound. They find Lieutenant Sulu firing this .38 pistol that I guess he found it under a rock.
Under the rock, yeah.
And Kirk's like, what do you think you're doing? Sulu's like, he's so excited. He's like, I found this old .38 special under a rock. He's like,
it's in great condition.
Yeah,
I don't have one like this in my collection.
So he loves collecting old Earth firearms.
Well, here's what we know about Sulu so far.
He loves plants.
He's been the department head of astrosciences. He's the helmsman.
Botanist.
He loves botany. And now apparently he collects old guns.
Oh, and he likes to fence.
Yes. Swordplay. Yeah. Yes.
This is like, he says, an old time police special. So Kirk takes the gun away from him because he's thinking that this planet's made him trigger happy.
And Barrows notices more Mall Bunny tracks at this point. So Kirk sends Sulu and Barrows to follow the tracks while he and McCoy return to the glade. As Kirk and McCoy walk away from camera, up pops what looks like an old style TV antenna.
Yeah, this was so ridiculous. It was
cheap.
Yeah,
production-wise, it was cheap.
I saw the antenna come up in front of the screen, and I'm like, is there something wrong with my screen? But yeah, they meant to do that. It was just an old...
something tracking that they used to track them with, yeah. We get a fun bit of character building between Kirk and McCoy here. McCoy's feeling a little picked on about this whole Mall Bunny thing, and Kirk shares that he was basically bullied by the upperclassmen at the academy, particularly a guy named Finnegan. Kirk describes himself as grim, a very serious cadet.
Yeah.
And Finnegan, the type of bully who'd put a bowl of cold soup in your bed, was a thing that you would do, I guess. I don't know. Or a bucket of water propped on a half-open door.
Yeah. So he's developed quite a complex about this guy, and it's like a, what do you call it, like an unfinished business with this guy.
Mm-hmm. So they see some more tracks. This time, the girl's prints, too. So Kirk tells McCoy to follow the rabbit while he backtracks the girl. Now, there's an issue that I had with this, though, because he just told Sulu and Barrows
to go follow the
rabbit.
Isn't it kind of like Alice in Wonderland?
So now is Barrows following
They're all
McCoy
following
and
the
Sulu?
rabbit. Sulu
and
McCoy are following Barrows. I don't know. They're all looking for the rabbit except for him, for Kirk.
Or is this a different set of tracks?
I don't know. I don't know.
I got very confused about who was going which way.
I have no idea. Yeah, that's a good point.
McCoy's excited by this, though. He's got a score to settle with that bunny. So off they go in separate directions. And just as they're separated, Kirk sees his old nemesis, Finnegan.
I have a nemesis.
Leaning back on a tree trunk. And again, here we are with our love of the Irish.
Oh, I know. And he's, what's the word? Overly cheerful and mischievous and just like playing up that whole leprechaun vibe type thing and to where it's just annoying. He's like, hey, old Jimmy boy. And you never know when I'm going to strike, huh, Jim? How's this? And he walks up to him and punches him in the face. And then he takes off running.
And Kirk's like, fuck yeah, Star Trek vibe.
But he taunts him and he's like, go ahead, Jimmy boy, lay one on me, just like he wants to fight, because it's what you've always wanted. And Kirk smiles and then they start to wrestle. We don't get into it really good before we hear Barrows screaming in the distance. So then he leaves Finnegan to find Barrows. And then, of course, Finnegan's like, that's right, run away. And then, oh, my God, I just wanted to slap the guy myself.
Yeah, he did a good job of making us want to hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kirk and McCoy meet back at the pathway and continue off together through some bushes. And they find Yeoman Barrows crying, and her uniform is all ripped. Got to show a little skin.
Yeah, gotta.
And what's going on with this tree? Did you notice
The red
this, like
tree?
the red?
Yes, I wrote it down.
Is
I'm
it
like, why
paint?
is
Or,
what?
Like, did they mark it to be cut down? Or
Yeah, I
is
was
it
like-
supposed to be blood?
I don't know. I was like, I didn't understand why the tree trunk had been painted red behind her.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Barrows doesn't look like she's bleeding.
No, but she's scratched up. She was describing her assailant or attacker as someone who wore a cloak and had a dagger with jewels on it. So McCoy's like, well, that sounds like Don Juan. Now, I thought Don Juan was like a seducer of women, not a rapist.
Right.
So why was he like tearing at her clothes?
Yeah.
Don Juan was like a lover. He wasn't a rapist, but they've made him into a rapist, unless that was her fantasy, because,
Oh, yeah. That could have been.
Whatever. Yeah.
I'll try anything twice.
Oh my.
Well, Kirk's the worst person to bring any assault or trauma victim to, right?
Yeah.
Like, because he's like, are you sure you're not imagining this? Are you sure it's not all in your head? Believe victims, okay?
Yeah.
And McCoy's like, yeah, it sounds like Don Juan. And Barrows is like, yeah, that's it. I was just thinking all a girl needs is Don Juan. Like, you know how you daydream about somebody that you'd like to meet?
Yeah, but not like get attacked.
Right.
But anyway, Kirk, he asks where Sulu is, and then Barrows says that he just went chasing off after Don Juan. So Kirk tells McCoy to stay with Barrows, and he goes after him. So it's like everybody's like, okay, you stay here, I'll go after that. And nobody's in the same place at the same time.
Kirk leaves McCoy with Barrows and takes off again to find Sulu. And he runs back into the clearing where we see the TV antenna again, tracking Kirk. Kirk comes around a corner, and I got to tell you, Kirk is me in this moment. He gets distracted by a pretty flower, and he completely forgets all about Sulu and Don Juan.
I know. But I'm like,
you can't take me into a store that has a garden center, and you got to keep me from visual contact because I will get distracted and forget some shit.
I'm like that with clothes and fabric. Like I have to touch it. And so, yeah. But yeah, so he like picks a flower and
then a pretty woman appears.
And he's like, Ruth? And apparently this is a woman, I guess, back 15 years ago at the academy also that he was involved in. And she's like, it's me. But of course, she's still the same age that she was 15 years ago.
She rushes into his arms and like cheek snuggles him.
Kissy on the cheek.
It was weird. After the commercial, Kirk calls McCoy on his StarTAC, but McCoy lets it go to voicemail. Kirk and Ruth are chatting. He's still in a little disbelief. It's been 15 years and she doesn't look like she's aged a day. How can she possibly be here on this lifeless planet? Kirk's phone rings. McCoy wants to know if he found Sulu, and Kirk's distracted. He's like, I'm sure Sulu's fine.
Yeah, he's like literally like drunk.
Yeah.
Some kind of like trance.
Love drunk or something. Yeah.
Some kind of trance.
And McCoy's like, okay, are you all right though?
He's like, yeah, I'm fine.
He just stares.
And he hangs up on him. So then Lieutenant Rodriguez calls in to report that he saw a flock of birds. And he's like, well, don't you like birds?
What's wrong with birds?
What's wrong with birds? Don't you like birds? And he's like, well, the sensors said that there were definitely no life forms on the planet. And their surveys could not have possibly been wrong. So then I kind of like sort of starts to snap him out of his little daze. He tells Rodriguez to rendezvous with the search party at the Glade. So like, okay, everybody meet at the Glade. I'll be there in a minute. He's like, he doesn't want to leave her, but she's like, do what you have to do, and I'll be waiting whenever you want me to come back or whatever she said.
Yeah, she tips her hand here with that, like, anytime you want to see me, you can.
Yep.
Kind of, yeah. Spock calls down and tells Kirk he's getting some strange readings. He's picking up a power source that's draining the Enterprise's power and starting to affect communications already. And he thinks it may be underground.
Man, this is the crackheads all over again.
Yeah.
Telosians.
Kirk walks away to rejoin the others, and we crossfade into that TV antenna again, watching McCoy and Barrows now. And they're walking together like Barrows is on McCoy's arm.
Yeah.
Which is not very professional. We know McCoy's not very professional at all.
Yeah.
Barrows is talking about how even before her shirt was torn, she thinks a girl in a fairy tale place like this should be dressed like a fairy tale princess.
With a tall hat and a veil. Okay.
And McCoy's
Whatever.
like, yeah, well, then you'd have armies of Don Juans after you, and me too.
Ugh, gross.
And she bats her eyelashes and is like, oh, really? And then like...
They're holding hands, and I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, that was quick.
It's staring deeply into each other's eyes. Yeah. And suddenly, as if by magic, there's a princess dress hanging in some palm trees by the lake.
Yeah, hanging. No, you're not suspicious that a dress is just hanging in the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and you just think, let's go put it on. She just literally just fantasized about it. And the doctor's like, yeah.
He really likes this idea.
I like to see you in it, you know?
Yeah.
And he's grinning like a fool. And so she goes in there and in the bushes and starts to change. She's like, but don't peek.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, I'm a doctor, so when I peek, it's in the line of duty. This is so creepy.
This
okay.
guy. Uh-huh.
This is creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, if you had a doctor say that to you,
I would not go to that doctor.
Nope. McCoy turns his back while Barrows starts stripping, and he gets a call on the phone from Rodriguez, but it sounds like he doesn't have very many bars on his phone. There's a lot of static. And Rodriguez is calling to let him know to meet back at the Glade, and all through this call, McCoy is definitely sneaking some peeks at
Oh, he
Barrows.
totally is.
And then the phone drops the call.
Can you hear me now?
Cut to a Bengal tiger, for some reason, in a low tree, and Rodriguez is holding Martine Teller tight to his chest, and he's like still yelling into his StarTAC about McCoy. And
McCoy can't hear him.
Yeah.
The call's dropped. Like, okay, who dreamed that up? Like, what were they thinking of when that came up?
Right.
And the funny thing, every time they show the tiger, they get the little drums, the jungle drums. But I guess the tiger seemed to back off. Don't know why.
Cut back to Barrows, who is now all decked out in princess wear, complete with the big tall hat with veils. And McCoy is basically drooling at this point.
Yeah.
Back on the Enterprise, Spock is on the phone with Kirk, and Kirk wants some answers. We've got a mall Easter bunny, a little girl, and a flock of birds on a planet with no signs of life.
And a gun from under a rock.
Sulu's gun from under the rock, but there's no refined metal on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kirk's nemesis.
Finnegan. And he's like, and the other two people he saw.
And an old flame. Yeah, right.
And of course, Spock always must say this at least once every episode. There must be a logical explanation for this.
He still hasn't ruled out hallucinations.
Right.
But communications are getting worse. So Spock offers to beam down an armed security party. And Kirk's like, no, we're fine. It's all right. We're armed. So, you go sending down red shirts. We'll just have to write rhymes about their deaths. This is all weird, but they don't seem to be in any danger yet. Sulu is walking through a little rock valley, phaser in hand, and he walks across this very obvious looking trapdoor in the ground. And as he crosses it, the door lifts open and out pops a sword-wielding samurai.
He tries to fire his phaser and he realizes the phaser doesn't work. So he dodges the samurai sword and he runs away. While he's trying to get away from the samurai, he runs into Kirk. And he's like, there's a samurai behind me. And although
Kirk's like, yeah, man, I've seen some crazy shit.
I've seen some shit. I've seen some things. But they both realize, okay, their communicators aren't working that well anymore, and their phases definitely don't work. So they like, okay, get back to the Glade. Back to the Glade again.
And they see Spock try to beam down, but it's like he's stuck, like it's taking forever.
Yeah.
Like something's interrupting the transporter. And finally, Spock materializes, but he's got bad news. Comms and transporters are basically done. Whatever this power source he detected is, it's sucking up all the energy, and they're stranded until they can solve this little mystery. McCoy and Princess Barrows are walking by the Glade now, but the others haven't made it yet. And McCoy hears some movement and tells Barrows that she shouldn't be afraid, not when there's a brave knight to protect you.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Ostensibly him.
For fuck's sake. Did you ever wonder, like, why did they not detect any of these energy signals before?
Yeah.
And I mean, I was like, okay, why didn't they? And the only thing I can think of is there was no one on the planet.
So
maybe
it wasn't activated.
Maybe that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Cut to Kirk, Spock, and Sulu, who now hear the tiger and race off to find it. Quick cut back to McCoy and Barrows, who have now an armored knight on horseback riding at them with a jousting spear. And McCoy's like, these hallucinations can't hurt us.
He's like, I'm just going to stand here. You know, it's not real. And he takes the lance.
He was very wrong.
Yeah, he got skewered right through the chest. Barrows screams, and then Kirk, he starts shooting the knight with the .38 pistol. And I hope they got, like, it looks like unlimited bullets, but it's a revolver, so there's no...
Right.
And then he knocked the knight off the horse, and then they run to McCoy, and he's dead, Jim.
Oh my God! They've killed
Dr. McCoy.
you bastards!
Barrows loses her shit and starts crying, and we get tears into the commercial. Captain's log, all communication is down now. They're trapped on the planet, and McCoy is dead, Jim.
My personal friend.
So definitely not hallucinations. Barrows blames herself because she's the one that thought the whole princess and knight bullshit. And Kirk gives her a shake like, you're an officer, pull your shit together. Sulu, who is inspecting the armor, calls Kirk over to see what looks like a melting wax figure inside the armor.
Yeah.
This is a really gross makeup job.
Yeah.
Spock scans it with the tricorder. It's mechanical. And not only that, the cellular structure of this thing matches everything else. The plants, the people, the animals, it's all being manufactured.
So I wonder, were the plants not real? Were all of the stuff...
The whole plant?
None of it was real.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, Rodriguez and Martine Teller see some old warplanes flying overhead, apparently because Rodriguez had been talking about them earlier. Martine is like, well, can it hurt us?
He's like, nah, it can't. He can't hurt you as long as it doesn't do a strafing run on you.
Like a fucking idiot.
And look, don't say it, because as soon as he fucking said it.
Sure enough, the plane dives down and starts shooting bullets as they run away, but Angela's hit. And the others see the plane too. It distracts them all long enough for McCoy's body to disappear. Sulu says it was dragged off, and the Black Knight's body too. Spock's got a kooky theory. What if their thoughts are manifesting these things into reality somehow? Sure enough, Kirk was thinking of the Academy when Finnegan and Ruth appeared. And sure enough, Finnegan reappears and taunts Kirk. Kirk sends Spock and Sulu to find McCoy's body while he chases Finnegan against Spock's protestations. Finnegan keeps running away and the chase is on. Finally, Kirk catches up and demands some answers. And then Finnegan jumps off a rock ledge and kicks off a classic Star Trek fight.
Oh, yeah.
He's got Kirk on the ground at one point and taunts him some more, tells him to get up, calls him an old man.
Look at you, you're an old man. He's still 20 years old.
Right.
And Kirk is 20 years older, or 15 years older.
Finnegan gets knocked on his back and pretends that his back is broken.
He does the classic, like, Irish, I can't move my legs. And, of course, like, why do the good guys fall for this? And they go and they help the guy that says, oh, I'm hurt.
Yep.
Then he flips him over and he knocks the captain out. And he's like, well, sleep, Jimmy boy. Sleep as long as you like.
After commercial, Kirk's not dead. He's breathing and able to get back up, but his uniform is all fucked up for another gratuitous Shatner's sweaty chest opportunity.
You had to.
You got to do that. Yeah, you got to have the sex appeal. Kirk still thinks Finnegan can tell him what's going on with this planet and demands answers, but Finnegan throws dirt in his face. Shit move.
I hate
That's
this
the
guy.
worst. And kicks off Star Trek Fight Round 3. Round 3 ends as both men drop to the ground tired, and Kirk's still trying to get answers, but the best he gets is that Finnegan is being exactly what Kirk expects him to be. 2 more final punches put Finnegan on the ground, and Spock, who has been watching for who knows how long, he says, did you enjoy it, Captain?
He was watching it. I didn't realize
standing there.
Did you not help? Spock can be such a shit sometimes.
But Spock's thing, he thinks he's got it figured out, and he did enjoy it, and Spock takes that as an evidence to support his theory. Something or someone is reading their minds and providing whatever they're thinking about, even dangerous thoughts, so they'll have to control their thoughts. And Spock proves this theory by accident, as he says to Kirk, For example, when Rodriguez thought of a tiger.
And Kirk shushes him. He's like, no.
Don't do it.
Because sure enough.
There's the tiger. Spock's picked up passages leading to the surface from what must be this underground power source. So they race back to meet with the landing party. Mm-hmm. But along the way, they're treated to another airplane strafe attack and the samurai warrior. And as they return to the rendezvous point, Barrows is pulling her uniform back on when Don Juan reappears.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And then when Kirk arrives, he runs away.
Yeah, but before he runs away, he grabbed her. He was going to drag her off. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a rapist. That is not Don Juan. Like, I don't get it.
Did you notice, though, that Barrow's uniform is now miraculously healed?
I thought it was still torn. Oh, man, I missed that.
Yep. He orders them all to go line up, face front.
Don't think.
Don't talk. Just shut the fuck up. Don't think about
anything.
Don't even breathe. He says, you're at attention. Concentrate on that. And then up walks an old man who explains he is the caretaker of this planet and he knows everyone's name. And as he does roll call, he does some like sexist bullshit as he says Yeoman Barrows and puts his hand under her
face.
chin. And stop fucking doing that.
Yeah. Yep. Treat him like the little woman and just thinking that you could put your hands on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine a dude reaching over to another dude and putting his hand under his chin like that.
Yeah.
We don't do that. Stop it.
You should, honestly, you shouldn't touch anyone.
Yeah.
Like, unless you know them and it's okay. But he says, okay, so my people constructed this planet as a playground and anything that you can think of can be manufactured, but none of it is permanent.
It's like a pleasure planet, so you can relive old memories or
whatever,
imagine new ones, anything you want.
Right.
And Spock calls it an amusement park. I hate when they do this, when they give the alien the like an Earth history knowledge that really, come on.
Yeah, because, I mean, Spock wouldn't, I mean, granted, he's probably studied Earth history.
Right.
But he probably wouldn't have any knowledge of it.
Right. Right. Who's like, oh, it's an amusement park, an old Earth place where you could go to do all sorts of amazing things.
But he did say, I don't know if Kirk said this or if Spock said this, but the more complex the mind, the greater the need for the simplicity of play.
Yeah, that was Kirk.
I think it was it Kirk?
Yeah.
Okay. I get that. Sulu's wondering, like, how can a race be so advanced and still have the need to play?
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. Me personally, I feel like you should always be able to play.
Yeah. Suddenly, McCoy reappears, healthy as an ox, and he's got a couple of hot, like, cabaret dancers on his arms now.
They just don't quit.
And he explains that he's been to the underground complex. They healed him. They're very impressed by their ability to create anything immediately. Barrows is pissed.
She's jealous. She's like, who? She's looking at these girls like, who are these hoes?
And McCoy starts explaining, like, only a man caught in some shit can.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you see what had happened was. and he's like, listen, I'm on vacation. What's wrong with a little side piece on vacation?
Right. So she's just like, move, ladies. And she takes his arm and then they go. What's funny is they go over to Spock and Sulu, which neither of them are going to have any interest in.
Nope. Kirk asked the caretaker ASL, and the caretaker's like, look, I don't think your species is ready to understand us. Kirk's phone rings. It's Uhura. They've got their communications and power back, and she wants to know if everything's all right. And Kirk puts her on hold, and the caretaker offers the planet for the crew's amusement. Kirk accepts and tells Uhura to commence transporting shore leave parties.
So, but the caretaker does caution them. He's like, look, y'all need to take care of what you think about, because whatever you think will be what you summon. Mm-hmm. So just be careful with that.
And this is, I think you mentioned earlier, Spock, there's a not so very Spock moment here that he says he'll return to the ship and hands off his cabaret girl to Sulu's other arm. Mm-hmm. And then he puts his hand under her chin and he's almost got a smile going on. So he passes off the girl and Spock does the chin thing, which just is not a Spock thing. And as Kirk offers to return to the ship instead of Spock, his mind is changed by Ruth walking through the trees toward them.
He's like,
yeah, never mind.
I'm gonna stay here for a minute.
So the button on this episode, Kirk, McCoy, Sulu, and Barrows step out of the turbo lift onto the bridge, and Spock asks if they enjoyed their R&R, and Kirk and McCoy confirm that they had a great time. Spock says, most illogical, and they all have a good laugh. And that's our episode. But I have questions.
Oh, I do too.
Why was the planet sucking power from the Enterprise?
I agree. Was it
Other than like they couldn't leave or making communications difficult?
I don't know. That was my earlier question was why didn't they detect this energy surge when they first scanned the planet? Did it not start until they got on there and then they were and those like antennas were popping up because it sensed people? And then also the doctor was down underground being healed. Why didn't you ask about that technology? Mm-hmm. Like, wouldn't you as a doctor want to be able to get that technology? Yeah. I mean, this had holes. I mean, it was a fun episode. It did have a few holes, but I feel like this paves the way for like the idea of the holodeck, which is instead of thinking of it, you can just program stuff into it and build a story and put the danger level however you want. And no, you're not going to get hurt.
Right.
You know? And
why didn't they? So at the end of this episode, Kirk decides, okay, everybody can beam down. Everything's fine. Sure. We have to assume that this happens off camera, but there's got to be some conversation about, hey, when you get down to this planet, here's what you can expect.
Right. Like, the caretaker can't just like throw that on somebody. They can't just, because someone could die.
Yeah.
That's not right. There's got to be some ground rules set like, day one.
Right. Like the away team, the original away team should have gotten when they beamed down.
Right.
But we're going to beam down to the rest of everybody without having that conversation.
Right.
Something maybe they missed. On the themes, this one was a little harder for me. Like, there's some lessons to take away. Like, why the fuck don't these aliens have a buoy outside the planet? And when you
like, hey,
when you approach it, it's
this is who we are.
This is
what we're gonna do to you instead of, because like the approach, like if you go into it not knowing what the hell, it's you're terrified. But if you go into it knowing, okay, this is not real,
right?
This is all for fun. Then it's a totally different. It would have been a different show.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess this one just seemed like another one is. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Right? This episode seemed more entertainment than edutainment.
Yeah.
To me.
I think it's every
and not that that's a bad thing.
Yeah,
just
every
that
series has to have like that comic relief episode or a few episodes. Like,
can't be serious all the time.
Like the Tribbles. I mean, we know that's coming. We know that's coming. But I think for me, I had to think hard about this one. But I also thought, that line that resonated with me, and I think it's Spock who said it, the more complex the mind, the greater the need for the simplicity of play. And I just started thinking about like how we are in modern day, where I feel like we have pretty complex minds in today's world. And we're always coming up with all these different ways to play.
Yeah.
Like our whole, like entertainment is a huge industry, whether it's movies or sports or video games or virtual reality, something. We spend so much time building all this pastime, but then we don't actually play.
Yeah.
Without us overthinking it in some way. Like sports fans, we're fighting each other. Like my team's better than yours, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're just brutal with it. And everything is monetized. Like even video game tournaments are monetized. I actually
these kids are making millions of dollars on YouTube playing a game, and other kids like mine will watch another kid play a game on a YouTube.
I went to a video game tournament when I was in London. It was off the chain, I will say. It was fun. Yeah. But then there was issues with one player said one thing and people are booing him, and it just like takes the fun out of stuff. Yeah. Like whatever happened to simple fun? It's like we don't know how to let go and have fun without the need to win or to beat somebody, and we don't know how to relax. Like we were talking about earlier, when you go on vacation, like family vacation, you got
that's a lot of work.
Plane tickets or reservations or planning and logistics.
Yeah.
And if you're traveling with somebody, then you got to deal with, like, make sure everybody gets along. Like, or if you travel with your kids, no fighting.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody gets along. Dealing with childcare, not to mention how much it costs. And then all that stress, all that's just stress.
Yeah.
this is supposed to be a vacation. We take a vacation to like relax, but it's not relaxing.
Right.
We don't know how to relax.
No, you're absolutely right.
So I feel like this idea of being able to go to a planet, imagine whatever you want.
Yeah.
Just for
that would be a blast.
There's no cost, or you just get off the ship.
Everybody would use it for fucking.
Oh my.
Of course. Or something, or some depravity.
Yeah, right, for sure.
But like, I feel like we don't know how to turn off.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe that contributes to some of the mental health issues that we have.
Absolutely, it does.
And like, it's all we know. Our whole life is stress.
You look at like the railroad workers and all of that. Like, they just want some sick days, man.
Yeah.
Like, capitalism is ruining our balance and our ability to unplug and actually rest.
We have to. Even I feel like Gene even knew that.
Yeah.
Gene knew that. He came up with the best idea of a holodeck or a planet, and then eventually a holodeck, but a planet where you could just go and no baggage needed. Everything that you could think of would be manufactured or materialized. And that's the ultimate, like, unplug.
All right, nobody died.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
Well, we'd like to thank all of our patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
You are absolutely the best. You're keeping this show going. You're going to send us to conventions to table and meet with people. And we have a lot of fun ideas of things that we'd like to do with the show. And none of that can happen without your support. So thank you for being a patron. If you're not one, please consider becoming one. You get access to every episode early. And there's some merch at different levels. So head on over to patreon.com/humanisttrek. Pledge as little as $3 a month. It will go a long way to supporting the production of this show. Of course, there are other ways to help us out too. You can leave a rating and review wherever you listen to the show. Share your episodes on social media, annoy your friends. All of those things help us reach more listeners and are also very much appreciated.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
All right, let's bring Becca in for the exciting answer to last week's challenge. Last week on Humanist Trek, you asked us.
The tiger used in this episode never interacted directly with the cast. Why may this have been somewhat of a bummer for William Shatner?
And we said he just really wanted to play with the kitty.
Yeah, the cat.
That can't be right. Could it be anything else?
See, every time we give a simple answer, it's so much more complex. And every time we overthink it, it's like it was a wardrobe issue.
He has difficulty acting against nothing. Like he wanted to have the tiger in the scene so that he could. His reactions would be real. I don't fucking know. What's the answer?
I'm gonna stick with playing with the kitty.
Yeah. I think you're wise to stick with that because when he found out there would be a tiger, he hoped to have a chance to wrestle it. So he wanted to play with the kitty.
Oh my god!
What a bonehead!
So you get a point each for that one.
Yay! We were right.
All right. Next week we'll be reviewing the Galileo 7. 7 Enterprise crew members go on a shuttle mission with Spock in command. What is our question for the Galileo 7?
In this episode, a previously unmentioned Starfleet rank is revealed.
Damn it.
What is the rank? Extra points if you can identify the name of the person identified in this rank.
Well, we know what it is. I think we know what it is because we have seen the show. It's a galactic, high galactic something.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's that Ferris guy.
What was his title? Hang on, I have it.
High galactic High Commander or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
This is the first time it was mentioned on the show. There was an ensign named in this episode, and I'm wondering if ensign is a rank that has not been mentioned on the show previous to this.
There could have been. I don't remember an ensign. Oh, but then again, you did say that.
But know his name? Who the hell?
They used like sea or
yeah, right.
naval.
Naval. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, I'll go with ensign.
Okay, I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Well, we've locked in our answers. If you want to play along, no cheating, no Googling. Set a course for your nearest social media app, except not Twitter, and post your answer. Use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and we'll pick our favorite to be the winner. Next time on Humanist Trek, Season 1, Episode 17, The Galileo 7. So we'll see you next week.
Live long and prosper.
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.